And for the first time ever, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official series premiere of the Reviewing Network Live. This is our weekly stream of consciousness conversation show, podcast, whatever you want to call it, where we sit back, we relax, we have a couple of drinks, we have some snacks as well, and we talk about things in the world of entertainment and just news in general that happened in the last week. And this is an this is pretty much an audio podcast, so that means that this is longer than my usual reviews or my other videos on the other channel, and it's mostly unedited. And I say mostly because there'll be parts where I'll be cutting. It's like I'll do segments one by one, and then when this video comes out, they'll be spliced together into one long freeform video. So. And that means they're going to be a little bit more unedited too. So there may be some foul language dropped here or there. If you don't feel like you want to have that on your conscience, then I'll have timestamps below if you want to get to a specific topic I'm going to be covering here. But this is pretty much just a freeform conversation recording session where I sit back with you guys and we talk about things that happened in the last week, along with some other things as well. So if you like that, sit back, relax, and let's begin the conversation. Now, before we jump into our regular feature that's going to kickstart the show every week, I do want to say Happy Labor Day to everybody. This is being recorded the day before Labor Day, pretty much late at night on the Labor Day Eve, and then Labor Day will be the day that this will be officially out. Basically, we're honoring and recognizing the American labor movement and the works and contributions of laborers to the development and the achievements of the United States. And this is basically a 3-day weekend, and for many of us, it's a day to sit back, relax, and take in the world as we get ready to these last couple of days of summer-like weather. Meanwhile, for people like me, I have to go to work tomorrow morning. So, not tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. But still, some of us have to work on Labor Day. But that's fine. It's fine with me because you get time and a half. And you know what? Honestly, for me working in a grocery store, it starts off bad at first because everybody's still coming in, grabbing their stuff for their picnics and barbecues and all that. But once you get past 6 o'clock and all that, it does start to die down a little bit. It gets a little bit boring at times, but I'll live. And like I said, time and a half, so that works out in my favor as well. So, but you're not here to talk about my payment here, how I get paid for my jobs here. But anyway. I might as well start off with the introduction here. For some of you that are just coming into this new, you have no recollection of what I do on the other channel. My name is Aaron, and I run the Reviewing Network YouTube channel, as well as the Reviewing Network website, which we just surpassed our 10-year anniversary of when the site began as a site within the site on Spill.com. We're still a couple months away from when the site became its own website on Christmas Day of 2013. But regardless, this year is the 10th anniversary of the website's creation. And so that's one of the things I wanted to do to expand the content here is create this weekly podcast. And on this show, on this website in general, we talk about movies, television. Occasionally, we'll delve into some other topics as well. If I feel like there's something there that I feel like you guys would want to listen to. And we'll get to some various topics of discussion on this particular show here. But so that's kind of a little bit of an intro of what this is before you start entering in on what we do here on the show. So now let's get to the nitty-gritty. Let's get to the thing that's going to start the show off every single week here on this program, and that is the weekend box office. The top 5 weekend box office. Labor Day weekend, for the longest time, was not usually the best weekend for movies in general, new releases, but pretty much in the last couple of years, since Hollywood's kind of realized that you open a movie anywhere, people will go and see it. We're starting to get more bigger and bigger movies, like movies they actually believe in. And this weekend was no exception to that rule, because the new release, that big new release that came out this weekend, opened up, and we'll get to that one in just a little bit here. But we're covering the top 5 here. We'll look at a couple other things in the other top 10 here, some other interesting, noteworthy movies that came out this weekend. But our main focus right now is the top 5. So let's just go ahead and jump on into that. So let's start off with number 5. Most of the movies in the top 5 are older movies that have been out for a while now, and this one in particular has been out for a while now. So number 5 is Oppenheimer. What more do I need to say about this movie that hasn't already been said already? Christopher Nolan's pretty much his magnum opus. $5.5 million this weekend, only dropped 33% from last weekend. Over $300 million, $308.5 million after 7 weeks. Worldwide gross, it's up to around $850 million, so kind of right around where everybody projected it was going to end up. It's probably going to end up around $900 to $950 million once it's all said and done, so No big surprises there with that one whatsoever. If you haven't seen it already, do yourself a favor and check it out, man, because you are really missing out on something really, really good. Can't say the same thing for the number 4 movie, and that is, of course, Gran Turismo, which opened at number 1 last weekend. The debate on whether or not it actually deserved the number 1 spot over the number 2 movie this week. But in the end, that movie got its revenge because it dropped down a couple of spots from number 1 to number 4. Dropped 62% from last week, $6.5 million, $28.6 million. So it did drop off. It was heavily front-loaded. And this was kind of what I was saying last week that this was going to do, because the movie didn't leave much of a lasting impact on people. Gran Turismo isn't that big of a name that people want to keep coming back to it more and more. $28.6 million. If you include the 4-day weekend totals, it's up to $30.6 million, and it's already surpassed its $60 million budget when you add in the international numbers. $80.9 million worldwide. Kind of what you'd expect for a film like this that isn't going to be a big hit, but it will be at least profitable for Sony Pictures because of the low budget that it has. So it is not the worst thing that this movie could do for this particular movie. But dropping down to number 4 after being number 1 is pretty alarming, and that kind of gives you an idea of how long the longevity of this movie at the box office is going to be, especially when you consider that a couple of movies that came out previously had surpassed it, which brings us to the number 3 film. And I'm going through the regular September 1st through 3rd box office. I'll take a look at the Labor Day 4 days so I can give you an idea of how much they're making there in just a little bit. But number 3 this week is Blue Beetle, and Blue Beetle was here last week after opening at number 1 a couple weeks ago. $7.2 million, dropping 40%, $56.5 million after 3 weeks, which takes it over $100 million worldwide. I think the budget was around there, so it's going to make its money back, and I think it will stick around for a little bit longer. Not enough to make it an all-around big hit for the studio, but it certainly is doing a lot better than something like Shazam! Fury of the Gods, or especially The Flash did in terms of these DC movies. Which, interesting enough, we have not got a trailer for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, even though Warner Brothers said once they moved Dune 2 that Aquaman's staying put for Christmas. So I don't know when we're going to get that trailer or not, or if they're still going to move it around or not, but we still have a little bit of time before that comes out, so we will wait to see what happens there. But that brings us to number 2, and Warner Brothers once again sticking around there, and Barbie. Barbie once again is still hanging in there, $10.6 million, about 30% drop off from last week, but it did cross the $600 million mark, $609.5 million. Worldwide gross up at this point is $1.3 billion. Biggest hit of the year, easily, and who would have thunk it? I mean, who would have thunk it at this point? But we've pretty much covered this movie enough as it is. We'll probably still continue covering it for the next couple of weeks. But let's get to the number 1 new release of the weekend. And the number 1 new release of the weekend, the big new release of the weekend, and pretty much the only new wide release, is The Equalizer 3. Denzel Washington returning, and the only sequels that he's ever done. He's only done these movies in terms of a franchise of films. And you could tell that he is very committed to this, as is Antoine Fuqua. And the film did pretty well for itself. I mean, the film made over $34 million in terms of the 3-day opening. In terms of its 3-day opening, I'll talk about the Labor Day 4-day in just a little bit, but it's already made $68 million worldwide. The budget on this is $70 million, so it's a big hit. And they're talking about doing a prequel, and there's a talks that maybe John David Washington will play a young Denzel Washington here, which would make sense. They're also looking at Michael B. Jordan possibly, but I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I've loved these movies. I have not seen this new one yet. I'm going to see it in a couple of weeks, but I really enjoy these movies a lot, and I've heard a lot of really good things about this one. I think this is actually the best reviewed of the 3 films at 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, like I said, I usually don't like to use Rotten Tomatoes as a reference point, but 76%. I think the Equalizers 1 and 2 only had around 60 and 56%. But I mean, it's working out for him. I mean, I think it also helped to have a reunion of him and Dakota Fanning from Man on Fire. Man on Fire is probably one of Tony Scott's best movies, I should say. And it's cool to see both of them together again in this, just from the trailers alone. But I'm definitely looking forward to checking this out in a couple of weeks. I really do want to see it. $34.5 million. It's the biggest. I think it's the biggest opening of the Equalizer series, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, the numbers are really close. I think The Equalizer, the first one, brought in 34.1. Equalizer 2 is the highest grossing opening of the series with 35.8, and this is 34.5. So all the numbers are very much in the middle here, and you can definitely tell people love these movies, and I think they love it because it's Denzel Washington. And I've said before, Denzel Washington is the greatest living actor we have working right now. And I like how people are kind of distancing this and the Queen Latifah show on CBS, which I've actually never seen before. I've wanted to get into it for a while now, but I've just never gotten around to checking it out. I've heard it's actually not that bad, but I do like that The Equalizer has been able to work not just in TV, but also in film as well. But mostly that's thanks to what Denzel Washington brings to the table there. So The Equalizer 3, #1 movie of the week of the box office this weekend. I don't think there's anything coming out next weekend that could possibly usurp it. There's a couple of movies that might come out. The Nun 2, I think, is the biggest new release, but I really don't know what the demand for that movie is. I mean, it's got the benefit of not having any major stars to it, so maybe they're just going off of the Conjuring name, and it might do well enough on that level. But there's also My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, because, you know, clearly we needed another one of those, because My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 wasn't completely pointless enough as it is. Like, I don't know. Equalizer 3 maybe could stick around at the #1 spot, but mostly I think the biggest threat's going to be The Nun 2, but we'll wait to see what happens on that front when we get to that next weekend. In terms of the Labor Day weekend, it actually has numbers that are very different from what the numbers are for the 3-day weekend. In fact, everything switches around, honestly, from... Actually, now that I'm looking at this is not the complete list. I thought maybe that things were changed around here, but I don't see Barbie on here. I don't see Blue Beetle on here, so... I'll just kind of give you the 3 that I see that I talked about already. Oppenheimer, $7.2 million for the 4-day weekend. Took it over to $310 million. Gran Turismo, $8.5 million, up to $30.6. And The Equalizer 3, the best overall weekend, 4 days in terms of the series, $42 million. So, so those are the numbers that I see right now. But I don't see any of the numbers for Barbie or Blue Beetle. But I will say Bottoms, which is a film we talked about last week. It opened in wider release, and it did pretty decent numbers. $3.5 million in its expansion into 715 theaters, $4.3 million. And I'm wondering if Orion is going to expand this into more theaters in the weeks to come, seeing that the buzz on this is so good right now. So that's one we're going to have to be keeping a close eye on over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see if that does anything next weekend. Rest of the top 10 is pretty standard stuff. Ninja Turtles fell out. Still did pretty well, $106 million after 5 weeks. Meg 2, The Trench is still there. Stray still hanging in there. Talk to Me is $44 million, the 4th highest grossing A24 film. But everything else is pretty standard here. So that's the weekend box office. And with that said, let's get into some stories. So as you know, we're only a couple of days away from the start of the 2023-24 NFL season. And, of course, I've done some videos on here because I do follow the NFL very much. I did a couple stories talking about some of the stories of the offseason, including Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. But since we're a couple of days away from the actual NFL season beginning, I might as well run down some of my NFL season predictions. And I don't claim to be an expert on any of these sort of things, but I did a list of... I covered every single... I did a thing on this website called PlayoffPredictors.com. If you've ever been there, go to the website, click under the football section. There's a thing for the 2023 season where you can predict. You can make predictions on where you think each team will be at when the season is over. They have like the entire schedule there, and you pick games by week. And on the sides of theirs, you have one side for the AFC, one side for the NFC. You can follow along as you see what the playoff rankings are, and also what the team rankings overall are, so you can see who gets the #1 pick in the NFL draft and where your team drafts at. So I've done a couple of these. I did decide to do mine officially on the. I did my official one as of today. I wanted to cover some of my predictions for the season, and I guess I'll kind of run down them from the divisions that you see on Wikipedia, starting with the AFC East. And the AFC East, I think, is the toughest division this year because you have 3 teams that are more than capable of potentially making it to winning the division. The Buffalo Bills, of course, have won the last couple of years. Miami proved last year they can make the playoffs if Tua is still healthy. And then you have Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets, which there's a lot riding on that one. And I actually have the Jets leading the division by 1 game. I have them winning the division 11-6. I have Miami and Buffalo going 10-7. And then I have New England at 5-12, which I really don't know how good New England's going to be this year. I think they'll be the ones who will be at the bottom of the barrel on that list there. I don't think Mac Jones is the guy for the future, and I think this might be the last year for Bill Belichick too. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing about New England I've seen from them this year, offseason that makes me say New England's definitely back. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. Plus, that division is just tougher now, and I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think the Jets eke by it just barely. I think that the buzz on Aaron Rodgers could be good. I mean, they did play in the preseason, which basically means that they are more believing of him than than Denver was last year with Russell Wilson, in which they said, don't even bother playing him in the preseason. Just get him ready to start in the regular season, and we'll watch the magic happen. And we all saw how that turned out. But I have the Jets winning that division, but barely. I think Miami and Buffalo will make it in as a wild card team, filling up 2 of the spots that they have there. So that's my thoughts on the AFC East. Now let's go to the AFC North. This is one where might be a little of a bias here, but I have Pittsburgh winning the division. I think that they are a much better team than they were last year. I think if the preseason is any indication, this is going to be a much improved team. This is just me going off of the idea that they will win the games that they should win. And I had them starting 2-3 because there's a couple of those games in the beginning where I'm just kind of like, you're going to find a way to lose these games, aren't you? These games that you should be able to win. Actually, 2-4 the first couple of games, because I had them 2-0 against San Francisco and Cleveland, and then they had that 4-game losing skid, starting with the Raiders in Las Vegas, which they do terrible on the West Coast for some reason. I don't know if that's going to change with Kenny Pickett under center, but I mean, we'll see. The Texans is one they should easily beat, but that's one of those games where it's just like, they should beat them, which means they're probably going to lose to that game, because that's just what they do. So there's that one, and then at home against Baltimore, which Baltimore, you might as well get them early in the season. They're actually really good, and then they taper off afterwards, which unfortunately I think is what's going to happen there. And then they go back, and after the bye week, they go to the Rams in Los Angeles, which again, West Coast team. So they lose those games, but then they go on a streak after that. They win 10 of their next 11. They lose to Seattle, and I have them at 12-5 right now. I have Cincinnati at 9-8 because I have to think that after 2 years of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, somebody is going to finally figure out a way to stop them. I mean, there has to be a way to stop Jamar Chase. Like, there's no reason why after 2 years of watching this guy, you should not be able to find a way to keep him contained. So I have them at 9-8. Baltimore 8-9. Like I say, they start off really good at the beginning of the season, and then they just taper off afterwards. Like, they can't stay healthy. Their offense can't get anything together. I feel like that's what's going to happen here. I think Baltimore starts off strong, and then all of a sudden, as the season goes on, they just fall apart, and they miss the playoffs altogether. And then Cleveland's Cleveland, so 5-12 there. I don't care if Deshaun Watson is going to have a full season there. The Browns are not that good of a football team that's going to make people go, oh, they could be the underdogs of this division. No, they're not that good. So I'm just saying for that one, that's where I have it there. So the Steelers actually they would have the number 1 seed at this point on if this prediction goes as I have it. But let's take a look at everything else though. We have the AFC West. Kansas City, I think, will eke by the division. I think it will be a little bit tougher because I think Denver will sneak in as a wild card team. I think Russell Wilson having Sean Payton there will improve the team a lot better, even though the wide receivers keep getting injured. I have to think there's going to be at least some improvement with the Denver Broncos. I think they'll sneak by into the playoffs. The Raiders, 8-8. Actually, no, wait a second. Okay, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to include a game in the Raiders' schedule. So 8-9 pretty much for the Raiders, and the Chargers 8-9. Like the Chargers, everyone wants them to improve, but they're never going to improve with Brendan Staley as the head coach. And Justin Herbert's going to, telling you, Justin Herbert's going to waste his career in Los Angeles just like Phillip Rivers did. He's going to be one of those guys that will never even sniff a Super Bowl because the Chargers will always find a way to screw it all up. So I have Denver making the playoffs as a wild card. Kansas City, I think, will win the division easily. And then that brings us to the AFC South, which is really, really tough to put together. But I think Jacksonville will end up winning because they're just the overall better team. They're representing the team. They have a lot of the same talent from last year. They're going to be a much improved team. I have an 11-6. You have two teams that are starting rookie quarterbacks. Houston with C.J. Stroud. I have them at 7-10. Indianapolis 5-12 with Anthony Richardson, and probably no Jonathan Taylor because I doubt he'll ever dress as a Colt again with the way the conflict going on there is going. And then Tennessee, I have them 4-13. I just don't think they're that good of a team, and I think they're going to waste Derrick Henry's talents there, and I think he might actually be one of those trade deadline possibilities to go to a team that is a championship contender. So I don't think they're going to be as good as they've been before this last season, where they were not as good, and I think they're going to be even worse here. I think I actually have them as the worst team in terms of the numbers here. So, like I said, I have the playoffs would be Steelers with the AFC North, Jaguars of the AFC South, the Jets leading the AFC East, Kansas City leading the AFC West. Denver, Miami, and Buffalo would be the wild card team. So that's the AFC. Now let's turn it over to the NFC. The NFC, once again, gets very tricky because there's a number of quarterbacks in here, and there's a lot of teams on the rise as well. Starting with the NFC East, I have the New York Giants winning the division at 12-5. Just for the way that they improved last season. I think Brian Daboll has them on the right track. They've got better weapons on the Giants. I think they'll eke out the division over Philadelphia, which will still make it in as a wild card team at 11-6. Just as long as they continue to play as well as they did last year, I think they should be pretty good. But I think there'll be games where the other teams will be ready for them. Washington, I think, will be a much improved team at 8-9, and Dallas, I don't think will be as good. I think they'll be at 6-11. I just don't think they have enough. They really have enough there, especially when you take Ezekiel Elliott out of the picture. And Tony Pollard's a good running back, but I don't know if you could trust him as a number one running back, though. So I have him at 6-11. New York wins the division in that one. Over to the NFC North. I have Detroit winning the division at 12-5. It'd be the first time they win the division in, I think, over 30 years, honestly. I think the last time they won was 91, if I'm not mistaken. But they were a much improved team coming out of the second half of the season. They're going to have a big opening week test against Kansas City, which I think they could actually win and make it close. I think they could make it a very close game there. I have them winning at 12-5. I have them winning the division. I think Green Bay will do fine with Jordan Love at 10-7. And Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears should be an improvement at 10-7 as well, which would leave Minnesota as the odd man out at 6-11. I just don't trust Kirk Cousins, and I've been saying it for many years now. 2017 was a fluke. No matter what the Minnesota Vikings will try to tell you, 2017 was a fluke year, and they will never be good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think teams will be ready for them. I think that last year was not that good of a season because the rest of the division was not that great, but that's just my take on that. I think Detroit wins the division. Green Bay and Chicago, I think, make it in the playoffs as a wild card team. The real interest, once again, the NFC South, just like the AFC South, really hard to put together because you have all these different teams with new talent and new QBs at the center. Of course, you have the Saints with Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield leading Tampa Bay, Bryce Young, the number one pick, leading Carolina, and Desmond Ridder leading the Falcons. I have New Orleans winning just because of Derek Carr and the talent that he has there, and because they look pretty good in the preseason. I have them at 10-7. I think Tampa Bay gets at 8-9 for the season. I think Baker Mayfield will do decently there, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Carolina 6-11, and then Atlanta 5-12. I don't know if there's enough talent there on Carolina and for Atlanta, even though Atlanta probably has the better put together team. Desmond Ridder, the top running back in this year's draft, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I don't think that's going to be, even that with those talents there, I don't think it's going to be enough for them to get them anywhere past teams that they should be able to beat, like Carolina and Tampa Bay. I think they'll be at the bottom of the barrel, but I think New Orleans will win the NFC South. And in terms of the NFC West, I'm getting confused here. The NFC West, another tough one to pick out. I mean, it's basically a two-team race between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have a surprisingly rejuvenated quarterback in Geno Smith, and the 49ers have a great team, but not a very good quarterback. I really don't think Brock Purdy was as good as people made him out to be. I think this year he finally gets exposed. I think the 49ers don't have a good quarterback, despite the fact that they've stacked pretty much everywhere else in terms of running back, the offensive front, the defensive front. But I don't think their quarterback is that good. That being said, I do have them winning the division because of divisional record. I think they'll be the best out of the four there. I don't think they'll make it all the way to the NFC Championship game like they've done the last couple of years. Seattle, I think they'll have a 10-7 record, but they'll barely miss the playoffs because of that. The Rams, I think they'll be at 8-9. I think Arizona will probably should be the worst team there, even though I think I have Atlanta actually below them with the 5-12 record. I have them at 6-11. And I think that will be because of Kyler Murray coming back in the second half of the season. I think that'll help them get back on track there. So the NFC playoff picture looking like the New York Giants winning the NFC East, Detroit winning the NFC North, the Saints winning the NFC South, and the San Francisco 49ers winning the NFC West, with Green Bay, Chicago, and Philadelphia all in the wild card playoff hunt. I know these are predictions that will probably never happen. I'm just thinking that could be something. That's just my thinking going into the season, seeing all these things there. I'm seeing things that most people will not want to talk about, like the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think Brock Purdy is the future of that franchise there. I don't think a guy like is bringing in people like I don't think bringing Deshaun Watson is going to change anything in Cleveland. I don't think the Tennessee Titans have a good future at their quarterback front because they screwed over Malik Willis. They didn't even give him a chance to get going. I mean, they just pushed him out there, and they're kind of dampening his strengths as building his quarterback revenue, like his quarterback presence on that front. But whatever, you get what I'm trying to say here. In terms of the draft order, Tennessee is the number 1 pick. The Colts are 2nd, Falcons 3rd, Browns 4th, Patriots 5th, Panthers 6th, Cardinals 7th. Cowboys 8th, 9th Vikings, 10th Texans. I'm sure a team like Arizona will trade up, because I think that's the biggest story that everyone thinks is going to happen, is that Kyler Murray will get pushed out, because that's what the Arizona Cardinals do. They don't set these quarterbacks up to succeed, like they did that with Josh Rosen. They didn't even give him a chance to get going after the first season. They said, no, we're going to ship you out, and we're going to bring in Kyler Murray, and he's going to be the future of this franchise. And then look what happened to him. His career is not in good condition right now. And who knows? Maybe this might be the thing that might get them to keep him there, and not go for somebody like Caleb Williams, which you'd think. But then again, maybe Tennessee might do that, or maybe Atlanta could jump up if that's the case with these the draft order that I have here. But yeah, so those are my NFL season predictions. They will probably not happen, but it's fun to make predictions like this and for them to not happen. So, yeah, that's a little bit of fun there. But the NFL is not the big thing. Is not only the big thing to come out of the fall, of course, because we are heading into fall. What else is there about fall that really is there to offer us? Well, fall overall is pretty much one of my favorite seasons, next to winter, because it's cold outside, it's cooler than it was in the summer and spring, it snows, it's not storming every single day, the sun isn't beating down on you and giving you sunburn like crazy right out the get-go. I love the fall and winter, man. I'm that guy that you see in the meme where it's snowing outside and I'm wearing my sweatshirt, but I'm wearing short pants outside. I mean, I'm like Elsa from Frozen. The cold does not bother me anyway, so I'm really excited that we're heading into fall and winter. Those are my favorite times of the year. And it's also a good time for the movies. The movies we're getting into the Oscar season, we're getting into awards season, we're getting the big holiday releases coming up pretty soon, assuming that they don't move around because of the strike and all that. But we're at a point right now where we're getting into the 2023 fall movie season. So I wanted to cover the movies of the fall movie season I'm definitely looking forward to the most. Now, how are we going to do this? We're basically going to be covering every movie that is yet to come, that's coming out for the rest of the year that I'm still looking forward to checking out. These are the films that are notable. They're films I want to check out. So we got a lot of them to get to. So let's just go ahead and start with the one that came out this weekend, which is The Equalizer 3, which is a film that I've been wanting to see. which is a film that I have been wanting to see. And of course, I love the other Equalizer movies, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out. Not much more to go into detail on that one. Coming up on September the 8th, I think the only new releases that are coming are The Nun 2 and My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, two films that I have no real interest in seeing. Even though I like the Conjuring movies, The Nun is the one that I'm not the biggest fan of, so I'm not really looking forward to seeing pretty much the same thing in The Nun 2. I think we're going to get pretty much the same thing that we had in the first movie and the second one. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, I have no idea why they are trying to make this into a trilogy, because that worked so well with The Hangover, and no, it didn't. There's really not much more you could do with My Big Fat Greek Wedding. The first movie was just okay. I didn't love it like everybody else did. I didn't like the second one, and I've seen nothing about the third one that makes me want to change my views on it and actually go see it. I don't think this is going to be anything noteworthy. I think it's just something to keep Nia Vardalos' career going, which after the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding movie, she really didn't do anything of noteworthiness after that. I mean, there was that TV show based off the movie, and then that terrible cross-dressing movie that was trying to be like the Victor Victoria for the 2000s, Connie and Carla, which was not a good movie. So next weekend's not looking like it's going to be any good. Then you've got the weekend of September 15th, and I think that's where we head back to some good stuff again, because we have A Haunting in Venice, which is the third installment of the Hercule Poirot series from Kenneth Branagh, who directs the film. It's got Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Dornan, Tina Fey, Kelly O'Reilly, and it's a really cool-looking trailer for this that basically shows a much different tone compared to the other movies of the series. Like Murder on the Orient Express takes place in like a Snowpiercer environment where it's in the snow, it's on a train. Then you had Death on the Nile, which takes place on a boat in I think Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. Egyptian Vacation. Good Lord, I think Louisiana. I think of the showboats in New Orleans, but no, this took place in Egypt, which wasn't as good as Murder on the Orient Express, but I still enjoyed it. I'm really excited to see what they do with this, bringing in this horror aspect with these really creepy-looking images. I think this could be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. Opening in limited release, we have Dumb Money, the new film from Craig Gillespie with Paul Dano, Shailene Woodley, America Ferrera, Clancy Brown, Vincent D'Onofrio, Seth Rogen, and Nick Offerman about the GameStop Gamergate incident. It opens in limited release and it comes out in wider release in October, but trailers for it have been looking pretty good, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out when that comes out. On the 22nd, we have Expendables 4, which I was not the big fan of the Expendables 3, but I'm still kind of excited to see what they bring to the table here. Sylvester Stallone is back, Jason Statham, 50 Cent. They bring in Megan Fox in here, which I think will be cool to see. Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture, Andy Garcia. I think it could be a ton of fun. It's probably not going to be a great movie, but if it's something on the lines of something like Rambo: Last Blood, I'm more than willing to go along for the ride for it. It's got to be better than Equalizer 3, I have to think. But September 29th, not that much there. Saw X, which I don't know why they moved that up. It seems weird to move that away from Halloween and move it up a full month. But we have that. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of those movies, but I do like the traps they set up, though. Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie, the next big thing for kids, which, I don't know, could be fun for kids. Mostly it's going to be fun for kids, but the animation overall does look pretty good for a big budget for a smaller budget animated film. Plus, I don't know why, the trailers for that movie, just for some reason, when you stick I've Got the Power in there, it made that trailer look a lot more awesome than it probably should have. So those are those two movies. And then we also have The Creator, which is the AI Gone Wrong movie, which every time I see a trailer for this movie and they're talking about how AI is going to destroy us all, I'm only thinking to myself, oh, the anvil of irony, because of course the strikes that are going on right now, what's one of the big sticking points? AI, and how the studios want to keep using AI. And here you have a movie that's basically telling you AI is evil, and yeah, you try to figure that out. But it's got John David Washington. I like him as an actor, so I'm still looking forward to checking it out. It's also got Gemma Chan, Allison Janney. It's directed by Gareth Edwards, who gave us Godzilla and Rogue One, so I'm still looking forward to checking it out, but I'm still laughing about the irony of this whole movie marketing and all they try to tell. These trailers tell you that AI is evil, and yet what's the big reason why we're still on strike right now? AI. So there you go. So that's September. Let's jump into October now. And in October, the big new release of the weekend, the first weekend of the month, is going to be The Exorcist Believer, which actually just moved because of a movie we're going to get into. But I will say the the trailers they put out in front of Oppenheimer and then later online show a little bit of promise to it. But again, it's being set up in the same way as the Halloween trilogy, which is done by the same people. David Gordon Green is the director. Danny McBride is one of the co-writers. So I'm kind of intrigued, but I'm also going into this with a lot of hesitations to it. I like Leslie Odom Jr. I like Ellen Burstyn returning is in this, but I don't know. That whole idea of making a trilogy out of this, just like you did with Halloween was pushing it, and this could definitely be pushing it in another way that's probably not going to work in the film's favor. But probably, other than that, the big new release of the weekend is going to be Martin Scorsese's latest film, Killers of the Flower Moon, which has a lot of big critical praise already for it because it already premiered at some festivals. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, a Martin Scorsese thriller western, over 3 hours long. I think Oppenheimer proved that if you make a good movie, people will sit in the movie theater for over 3 hours and enjoy your film. I'm really excited for this one. I've heard a lot of great reviews for it, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. Then we get to the Friday the 13th, and yeah, there's a certain movie with a certain musician that I am not the biggest fan of. Some Eras Tour from Taylor Swift. It's going to make a lot of money. I'm just going to say that, and I'll save my little rant for why I do not like this person for closer to when the movie comes out, because that's going to be a big hit. And that's where I will really delve into why I do not like this person as a whole. But that's the big new release for Friday the 13th. It was so bad it scared The Exorcist off of it. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know there. And then there's this other one I saw the trailer for during Ninja Turtles, which I do not think is going to look any good whatsoever. Inspector Sun and the Curse of the Black Widow, which looks pretty bad. I don't know why they thought that if you stick it on there that people will go and see it, but I don't think that's going to make an impact at the box office whatsoever. So then we go to October 20th, and I think October 20th is not... Actually, no, there isn't a lot going on October 20th. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think, opens wide that weekend. I think because of a limited release on October the 6th. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm seeing here according to Box Office Mojo. And then we get to the final month of the week, the final week of October, I should say. Good Lord. A couple of movies of noteworthiness. We have a Priscilla Presley biopic with Kayla Spaley from Bad Times at the El Royale. I don't really know too much about this movie, honestly. I just heard that it was coming, and let me see. It is directed by Sofia Coppola, and I do like Sofia Coppola's earlier movies, like The Virgin Suicides, Lost in Translation, Maria Antoinette. She did make a really good Bill Murray, Rashida Jones movie recently called On the Rocks, and there was a great Christmas special with Bill Murray that came out on Apple. I think it came out on Apple, if I'm not mistaken, or Netflix. So, but Netflix, yeah, it was actually really good. So maybe she is coming back. So I'm definitely. So I don't know. This one I might have my eye on. I mean, Priscilla Presley's storyline basically follows her life with Elvis Presley, and I think that could make for something very interesting in a biopic. But then again, it's a musical biopic, and most of the biggest problems with the musical biopics nowadays is that they try way too hard to sanitize the storyline and don't go deep into the personal darker elements of a person's backstory. So, I don't know. It definitely can go either way with that one. But the big new release of that weekend is definitely going to be Five Nights at Freddy's, which the trailer for it came out this weekend. Looks really good. It looks like it's definitely in the same vein as the video game. Produced by Blumhouse Pictures. You've got Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson among the cast, along with Mary Stuart Masterson. Yeah, like I said, the trailers for it look really good, so I am definitely very excited to see how that one turns out. I heard it's 3 hours long, though, which could be a deal breaker for some people, but that's October. Let's jump into November. In terms of November, Dune was supposed to be the thing that jump-started the post-Halloween box office run, but of course, that's now been pushed back, and there is still no movie opening up on November the 3rd, which I find it very odd and very interesting that nothing has opened up there yet. But I think maybe we're going to find out in a couple of days or weeks that one of these movies that we're going to be talking about here will move up. After that, on November 10th, we have the latest Marvel film, The Marvels, the sequel to Captain Marvel, of course, with Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and Iman Vellani. Delaney. I think that's Miss Marvel from the TV show, which I like Miss Marvel. I do like the idea of them bringing them together in this movie. I do like some of the designs they have in here. Captain Marvel was one of the lesser Marvel movies. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did, but I'm kind of curious to see where they go with this film. This is directed by the same person who did Candyman, the remake of Candyman. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out. I'm not against it like most people that I've talked to are. The trailers have not been too exciting. I think the most exciting thing I've seen are the cats, which I think are going to be the stars of the scene stealers in this movie. But like I said, it's going to be cool to see. I think it'll be cool to see Larson, Paris, and Villani working together, and maybe they can. Hopefully, they can deliver a good movie in this front here. I'm hoping that they do. But that's the Marvels. And then on November 17th, we have a couple of notable movies, including Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, which is, of course, based off the Grindhouse trailer, Thanksgiving. Interesting that it's taken them over 15 years to make that movie, when Machete came out not too long after Grindhouse did. But be curious to see how that one works out. But we also have Taika Waititi's new film, Next Goal Wins, with Michael Fassbender, which looks like it could be really funny. I mean, people give Taika Waititi a really bad rap because of what he did with Thor: Love and Thunder, which I didn't even hate. Like, I like Thor: Love and Thunder. I like it more than Thor: The Dark World, honestly. But like, they look at that and they think that Taika Waititi is not that good of a filmmaker. Jojo Rabbit, he made Thor Ragnarok pretty good. What We Do in the Shadows is great on FX. Guy's still pretty good in my mindset, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking his movie out. It's got a limited release, and I think it opens up wide the next weekend. We have Trolls Band Together, which I think will be one of those movies that could move up a couple of weeks to that November 3rd spot, now that Dune's not there. I've talked about the trailer before on this channel before. I had a full-length trailer review of the one that's been in theaters for a couple months now, and Universal took it down despite the fact I didn't use any video of it. I had pictures, but I guess that was enough for them to say, nope, that's got to be taken down. So, but I did a trailer review after that. But I mean, I do think that this movie is the thing with the Trolls movies is that I go into these movies with much higher expectations because of the visuals and the voice work and the music alone. I always come out of them feeling a little bit disappointed, so I'm hoping that this one is finally going to be the one that actually works all the way through. But I will say that trailer, though, was not giving me a whole lot of hope in terms of the story, because it feels like they're just throwing stuff at you. But I will say this, though. One of my complaints before when I saw the trailer was that, how do you do this movie and you don't have NSYNC coming back together for the film? Well, it turns out in the week since then, NSYNC is actually providing some of the music for this, so they technically are coming back for this, so someone actually listened to me out there, I guess. Or somebody at DreamWorks finally realized that, why are we not doing this? But the big new release of the weekend is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is one I've been looking forward to. I like the Hunger Games movies. You have Hunter Schafer, Rachel Zegler, Jason Schwartzman, Peter Dinklage. It's a prequel to the Hunger Games storyline. I love the other movies. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do here. I'm hoping it goes more the Hobbit route than it does the Fantastic Beasts route, because the Fantastic Beasts movies have been absolutely pointless. There's no reason for them to be 3 movies whatsoever, and yet they did it. So that's The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Definitely one I'm looking forward to. We get to Thanksgiving weekend, and then there's a couple of movies here of noteworthiness to talk about. One of them is Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon, the new Ridley Scott movie. Vanessa Kirby is in it. Ridley Scott has had a kind of a mixed bag the last couple of years. He'll give you something great like The Martian, but then he'll follow it up with something like Alien Covenant, or do something like Exodus: Gods and Kings, which are not good movies. So I'm hoping that this one is a return to form for him. Will be interesting to see if that turns out well. The big new release I think that weekend is going to be Wish, the new Disney animated film inspired by 100 years of Disney magic. The animation has looked kind of choppy at first, but the more I watch the trailer on the big screen, the more I realize that, okay, this is something that I can get behind. I think the animation looks a lot better when you see more of it. It's got a great cast overall. The music sounds pretty good. Like I said, the animation looks pretty good. I like the film is using the magic of Disney for 100 years as part of its inspiration. And I hope that Disney will actually promote it this time and not do the same BS they did with Strange World last year, where they barely had any promotions for it and just completely dumped it. I'm hoping that's not the case, but so far, they've been doing a pretty good job of playing it in theaters, so I'm hoping that's going to continue going forward into the film's actual release on Thanksgiving weekend. So let's go ahead and move on to the last month of the year, and that is December 2023. So in December, we'll have a couple of Fox Searchlight Pictures releases, I should say. Poor Things, the new film from Yorgos Lanthimos, the man who gave us The Favorite. And then there's Magazine Dreams with Jonathan Majors, which Jonathan Majors is currently going through some legal issues right now. His career is kind of at a standstill right now. Searchlight says they're moving forward with the release, and I've yet to see a trailer for it. I don't know if they're just going to wait until it's closer to the release of the film or what, but I don't know if that one's going to stick around for too much longer. It's a film I'm kind of interested in checking out just because I like Jonathan Majors as an actor, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if that movie actually gets released or not. Christmas, December 15th, the big new release is going to be Wonka, with Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. The only thing I'm really excited about this movie for is the fact that it's Paul King directing it, and Paul King did the Paddington movies. The trailer, though, I think he's trying way too hard to be Gene Wilder. I think that's one of the things that's going to really hurt the movie. I think they're going to try way too hard to be a little too... is to retcon the story a lot. Hugh Grant, I think, looks like he could be fun as the Oompa Loompa. Olivia Colman's in the cast. Keegan-Michael Key is in here as well. Sally Hawkins. There is possibility there, but just I'm really, really worried about the way this movie's going to go. I know it's got a good director behind it, but I don't know. That trailer, he's trying way too hard to be Gene Wilder. Instead of just being his own version of Willy Wonka. I just want to see his own version of Willy Wonka. Like that. Like, you don't have to go all crazy like Johnny Depp did in the Tim Burton one, but don't try to copy something that's already perfect as it is. The week before Christmas, we got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Like I said before, we don't know when the trailer for this is going to come out yet, or if this is actually going to stick around. Warner Brothers says it is, but we still have to wait to see what happens there. And then we get to Christmas week. We have Migration, the new Illumination film, which the trailers for it have been looking pretty good. So I'm actually really excited to see what they're do with that. Mike White is writing it, who also gave us The White Lotus. Like I said, really looking forward to checking that one out. The Color Purple, the new remake based off the Broadway musical with Halle Bailey from The Little Mermaid, Taraji P. Henson, and Corey Hawkins. Really good look. Really looks pretty intriguing. Like, I like Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple a lot. I like that this is not a straightforward remake of that particular film. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if that's going to turn out to be pretty good. So that's going to be coming on Christmas Day, one would hope. Once again, we don't know for certain, but Warner Brothers has said that this, Aquaman and Wonka, are staying put for Christmas. So we will see on that front. In fact, we will see that with a lot of these movies here, because a lot of these movies will probably get pushed back if the strike keeps going. But of the movies that are coming out, probably the ones I'm looking forward to the most: Wish, the Disney film, Color Purple, Migration, Equalizer 3. I'm trying to think, what else is it? What else? Honey in Venice. I know this is dead air here, but I'm just trying to think. The Marvels, Hunger Games. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, those are the ones that I'm really looking forward to checking out. Not a whole lot of limited films that are opening limitedly, but then Killers of the Flower Moon is another one I should have added to the list. But yeah, not a whole lot of limited releases that will probably be Oscar bait films, films that will be Oscar bait or award season caliber in that particular list I have there. But those are the films I'm looking forward to the most, and we will see if they actually get released. So yeah, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So, of course, this is the early days of September, which, of course, means one thing and one thing only, and that is Halloween is almost here. And, yeah, I know it's September, but, you know it's Halloween when Freeform releases their 31 Nights of Halloween schedule, and so I got to take a look at that on Friday, and it's about what you'd expect from the schedule. You see a lot of movies you see on there all the time. But there are some films there that I thought were interesting additions there, but, like, here's the thing with Freeform's 31 Nights of Halloween schedule. They'll put Halloween movies in there, but then they'll also put movies in there where they don't have anything really to do with Halloween except for certain elements. Like, for example, the first thing that's going to be shown on 31 Nights of Halloween on October 1st at 7 a.m., Mrs. Doubtfire, which has nothing really to do with Halloween except the fact that Robin Williams is wearing a costume throughout much of the movie. So technically, it's kind of a Halloween movie, but then again, it's kind of not. I mean, stuff like that. Like I get the idea, but it's hard not to look at that and not think that, and not to think about some of those decisions that they're making when they put these movies on there. But you get stuff like Scared Shrekless, Halloween Town, Goosebumps 2, which I don't think I saw Goosebumps 1 on there. The Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, Nightmare Before Christmas is going to be on there a lot. So is Hocus Pocus, Hotel Transylvania, and Hotel Transylvania 3, which I don't know why they don't have 2 on that list. Which I don't. That's something that really confuses me. They have the rights to Hotel Transylvania 3, but you don't have the second one. And then you have Decorating Disney, Halloween Magic. Of course, you're going to have Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. You've got some Disney Channel movies, Twitch and Twitches 2. Shrek Forever After is on there, which I don't understand why that's a Halloween movie, per se. But Twilight Special Edition, Twilight New Moon. Not really Halloween movies, but vampires. Cruella, again, probably for costume purposes, I guess. Let's see here. The House with a Clock in its Walls. It's kind of fits the tune of what these 31 Nights of Halloween. Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. Halloween Town and Halloween Town 2. Little Shop of Horrors coming up on there this year, which I think will be pretty cool to see on there. It's been a while since I've actually seen the movie in full, so I'm really looking forward to watching that one. It's going to be on a couple of times during this year's Halloween. Then Zombies and Zombies 2, the Disney Channel movies. Addams Family and Addams Family Values. This is the year that Freeform gets the rights to those, because I've discovered now that Freeform and all these other networks split these movies, the rights, every Halloween. Like, one year the Addams Family movies will be on Freeform, and then the next year you'll have to go to, like, Paramount Network to watch them on there. I think Beetlejuice is on a different network this year after being on Freeform the last couple of years, so that's what I'm going to be looking forward to seeing on another network. I don't know exactly which network it will be on, but Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, not a bad Tim Burton movie that came out recently. The Craft, makes sense there. Bewitched, Witches, I guess. It's not really a Halloween movie, but I guess because it's centering on witches, I guess that technically considers it a Halloween movie. Family Guy Halloween episodes, I guess. It just says Family Guy episodes on here. Ready or Not, which is a really good, underrated horror film from the guys who have made the Scream trilogy as of late. That's going to be on there, I think, on October 11th. Let's see, anything else here? Toy Story of Terror, which is the only half-hour special that they have on there. Like, back in the day, they used to have all these different half-hour specials, Halloween specials from the past, classic Disney cartoons. I think the Donald Duck Trick or Treat cartoon aired on there at one point. They have a space open on October 13th at 9 o'clock. I don't know what it's going to be on there or not. I don't know what's going to be on there, but it just seems weird that it just says to be announced. So I don't know what's going to go on there. Monsters vs. Aliens. The Incredibles, Incredibles 2 costumes, I guess. It's not Halloween. Yeah, I don't get that. And then on October 16th, Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, which, again, not really a Halloween movie, but costumes, and it's supposedly a day of celebrating 100 years of Disney. What does Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 have to do with Disney, except the fact that Marvel owns the Spider-Man series, but those are Sony movies. And then you go to Tuesday, Spider-Man 3 is on there. October 17th, I should say on that front there. Sorcerer's Apprentice on October 19th. Aladdin, the 2019 Aladdin on the 20th, which... it's not a Halloween movie. It isn't even really a movie about costumes. So why is that on there? Like there are so many other there's so many Halloween movies and specials you could have put in these spots, but they're just not doing that. Where are we at now? This is the one that confuses me the most. October 22nd, they're going to have the television premiere of Encanto on there, which Encanto's a great movie, but it's not a Halloween movie. There's nothing about it that screams out Halloween. It doesn't make any sense why they're premiering it now. Why not wait another month? Put it out in November, but, why in October? That doesn't make any sense. Frankenweenie comes on the 22nd. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. That one kind of makes sense. Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, again... no real reason except for costumes. I think we're about Yeah, that's about it. Like there are movies on there that make sense, but then you get stuff like the Spider-Man movies, The Incredibles, and Encanto. Like, I don't understand why they feel like they need to put those movies there to fill those time slots in, where you could put in movies, other movies of other Halloween movies. Like, you could have gotten the rights to air Beetlejuice again. You could have gotten the Addams Family animated movies from the movies. You could have gotten Paranorman or Coraline. Coraline's having a resurgence nowadays because it's been playing in theaters the last couple of weeks. It's just, it raises so many questions. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why they're doing that, but I'm still going to watch it anyway, of course, because it's 31 Nights of Halloween. It leads into a good 3-month period where I'm consistently watching Freeform, because you have this, then you have the countdown to the 25 Days of Christmas, and then 25 Days of Christmas where you get all the classics like Home Alone, Home Alone. I'm really stuck on what they have now, because I was going to say Elf, Christmas Vacation, Polar Express, but those are all on AMC. They have stuff on Freeform, a lot of Disney movies, the Santa Claus films, Disney specials. I'm wondering what they're going to add this year, if they're going to add anything, honestly, but I still watch them anyway. I'm that one person that still likes these little traditions, like 31 Nights of Halloween, 25 Days of Christmas. And one of the other traditions that used to be a thing that we used to have here around this time of the year, this particular weekend, might as well go ahead and delve into that next as the next topic of discussion. And that is, of course, the Jerry Lewis MDA Labor Day Telethon. Now, there are some of you out there that might be a little bit too young to remember this, but this was something that used to be an annual tradition in my house. It would always be on my TV on Sunday nights, going into Monday, because it was an event that used to be on a lot of the day. Like, it used to be I think it was, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a 21 and a half hour event where you have Jerry Lewis. Don't need to tell you who he is, but Jerry Lewis had this thing where he actually had done this for a number of years. He did this thing where they had the Jerry Lewis Thanksgiving party for MDA back in the 1950s, when he used that for the organization's New York City area operations. MDA, of course, being the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And in 1966, they decided to turn this into an event on Labor Day weekend. And you had it start off on a local independent station. And you basically have these people coming in here, these various names of the time period. Like, you'd have Ed McMahon, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, Casey Kasem, just a ton of celebrities coming in and doing these events where they just perform for the audiences. And every once in a while, they go to this you'd have this number to call, and you can go and donate a specific amount of money. It doesn't matter what it is, you can just donate money. And every once in a while, they would stop the show to go to the tote boards, and they would show you how big the numbers get. And by the end of the night, they would have like a number in the millions. Like, this is something that they used to do for a number of years. And you can find this stuff online. It's definitely worth looking up if you want to see some good old-fashioned television from back in the day. There used to be like local versions. I know there's one that they did for WPXI Pittsburgh, the NBC affiliate around here, that they did up at the Monroeville Mall, which is, of course, where I do all my Movie Stop episodes at. And where George A. Romero's statue is at, that's where they had the thing for the telethon at, where they'd have Bill Cardell from Chiller Theater as the main presenter on there, and you'd have the people from WPXI coming on there, the local places, and you could watch them do the show from upstairs on the second floor. And it was always a great thing to watch. Like, there wasn't really a whole lot there. You're just watching people perform for you, and these great people perform for you, and they see people giving these donations out for this disease. And it was always something special to watch. Like, every single year they do it. Like, you get so invested in watching this. And what's amazing is that you watch the numbers grow every single year. Like, there's a great video on YouTube called honestly, look up the Jerry Lewis Telethon and look for the tote board years, and they always show you the last final total that they've done from 76 to 2010. And it's amazing how the numbers grow as the time goes on. Like, it starts at 76, where they ended up with around $21 million, $21.7 million. And then in the final year in 2010, which was the last time he did the telethon, it was all the way up to $58.9 million. I think their highest was $65 million. So almost $2.6 billion given to fight muscular dystrophy. I mean, And there was a point in the last 10 years of the show that I actually started donating. I started donating when I was about 2002, 13 years old, actually. 13 years old. I put my first $10 donation in, and every year up until the end of the telethon, I would always put the money in there. I always put $10 in there. And one is like, it's a helpful to help a cause. Like, this is a bit help a cause like muscular dystrophy. And like I said, it was always a ton of fun to watch. Like, it's always a ton of fun to watch them do this, to have them all on there doing the tote boards and all that. And it was just a tradition that I always go back. I always loved going back to every year. But then times changed. By 2011, they basically changed the format around. They basically decided to cut it down from its normal 21.5-hour show. The last show they did, the first one after Jerry Lewis was fired from it, it was pretty much the same thing. And then the following year, they cut it down again to 3 hours, and they made it a primetime show called the MDA Show of Strength. And it just lost a lot of its charm there. A lot of the magic that was in that original block that Jerry Lewis held for a number of years, it just wasn't there anymore. And yeah, I still donated money to it, but that was at a point when I wasn't really checking it out as much. And you could just tell they were just running on fumes at that point, because the following year, they cut it down again. It was like an ABC show in primetime for a 2-hour show. And then the last year they did it was 2014. And then they stopped doing it because, well, they just couldn't handle the new era of television. And like, really, like, I think they kind of ruined it by telling Jerry Lewis that they couldn't do it anymore. And it wasn't until a couple years later that Lewis broke a 5-year silence in appearing in an online video and endorsing the MDA's decision to redo the strategy of it, deciding that the work MDA started must go on. And it'd be the last time he did it, because he died a couple weeks before what would have been the 2017 show on August 20th at 91 years old. Guy lived a good run, and they've tried to bring it back for a number of different things. They actually tried to do it in 2017 with a local format, which didn't last very long, and then they did one for online with Kevin Hart taking over, and it was now called the NBA Kevin Hart Kids Telethon, which actually, if I remember, which I think they still brought in a lot of money. I don't know the actual numbers because it's not on there per se, and I mean, they still brought in a ton of money to help the people out with this disease, and it was always a great thing. It was one of those Labor Day traditions that you just had to sit down and watch, no matter where you were at. And it's a shame that we can't have that type of stuff anymore. It would have been nice if they kept it going, but the times have changed. Not a lot of people watch broadcast television. I'm one of those few people that still do, but not a lot of people do. Most people have switched to digital cable. They've switched to streaming. They've switched to the Roku boxes, all that type of stuff. So I don't know how this type of thing would work nowadays. And it's a shame, because really, this is something that used to be a big tradition for a number of years, and then it just kind of went away. It was one of those great TV traditions that I used to have that just sadly went away. Like most things, like Fox Kids is no longer here anymore. Kids WB is no longer here anymore. Nickelodeon, as I used to know it, is not here anymore. Pretty much for Cartoon Network as well. TGIF, Must See TV, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of these great TV traditions we all grew up with, sadly, are no longer there. But thanks to the magic of the internet, we can look back on these memories and look back on some great moments on there. And I highly recommend checking them out. You can just type in Jerry Lewis NBA Telethon, and you should be able to find that stuff easily. And I can tell you, it's more than worth it just to see what television was like back then. I wish there was a way that they could re-air these telethons in like you have all these different channels on streaming for specific things. Like you have a channel dedicated to Supermarket Sweep, you have a channel dedicated to The Price is Right, channel dedicated to game shows, there's channels dedicated to classic television, there's MeTV, there's Antenna. I wish there was a way that we can get a channel going where we can have these classic moments being played on a continuous loop. Like, I feel like there's so much there that could make audiences want to go ahead and watch this type of stuff, because I think there is an audience there that could really get into this. And but like I said, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but like I said, there's stuff on YouTube where you can watch all that stuff, and it's more than worth the watch. I'd say definitely go and check some of this stuff out for Labor Day. I'm certainly going to do that after I'm done recording this, so just wanted to bring those up here. Some good fond memories of the old days of the Jerry Lewis MDA Telethon. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last little bit of things that we have to do here, specifically some recommendations. And I don't think there's any bigger new release this weekend than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, my #1 favorite movie of the year, and really, how can it not be anyone else's, because it is just that good of a movie. The visual style, the animation alone, the story elements, the fact that it's a 2-part movie and it never feels like there's nothing going on in the first half of it. It feels like there's a lot going on and keeps you on the edge of your seat all the way to the end of the film. Like it ends on a note where you're mad because you have to wait now to see when this is going to happen, and you're mad now even more because it's been delayed because of the writer's strike and the actor's strike. They haven't been working on this movie since it came out, the last film in the series, and we now have to wait probably 2 more years for this story to get resolution, and that kind of sucks, but at least we can watch the last movie, and admire the greatness of it. The animation in this movie is gorgeous to look at, and it has so many different styles to it that just stick out really well, and they're just so well done, and I cannot recommend this movie enough. From a story level, from an animation level, it's a masterpiece. It's one of the best films of the year. It's definitely high up there with the original Into the Spider-Verse, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And not only that, there are so many different versions of this movie coming out. There's a Blu-ray version, a DVD version, a 4K version, steelbooks, 2 movie collections, and you know me, the person that buys multiple copies, is already jumping on the bandwagon for this, because as of now, I have both. As I'm grabbing both of them here, I have both the Walmart and the Best Buy versions right here already in my hands. I pre-ordered them early. I knew I had to get my hands on these. I actually bought another one of these recently because I'm going to open one of these up. I got this one. I got another one off from Macari because I had some extra money from some stuff that I sold on there, and I figured I'll put it to that. And not only did I buy it because I just want to have another copy of it, but I think I might get it signed by Shameik Moore, the guy who plays Miles Morales, because he's going to be coming to the next Steel City Con in December. So he's going to be coming. A couple of big names are coming to this one coming up. McKenna Grace from the Ghostbusters movies, Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, people from Scream, Breaking Bad, Alex Winter from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which gives me some hope that maybe Keanu Reeves may show up for one day. You never know. We're still 3 months away from that happening, and there's still time for that to happen. But I'm really excited to see that. But like I said, Shameik Moore's coming. I've been a big fan of his for a while now, not just with the Spider-Man movies, but Dope from 2015 was my favorite movie that year. I love that movie. I'm going to get him to sign something. I'm going to try to get him to sign something, and maybe it will be my unopened copy of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, or maybe it'll be the open one. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Like I said, I still got some time, but right here, as you'll see right here on camera, I have both the Walmart exclusive and the Best Buy exclusive steelbooks, with more on the way. So I'll delve more into these on a future episode of Movie Stop. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, not surprisingly, is the big new recommendation I can give to you this week. So other than that, that's going to pretty much do it for this episode of the Reviewing Network Live, our first official episode. Like I said before, this is going to be something we're going to be doing every single week now from here on out. Every Sunday night, I'll be recording an episode, and then it should be up as early as Monday morning. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like what you see, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of the conversations that I have here, I've talked about on this particular show. And there's going to be little snippets of this show being taken over to the Reviewing Network channel, so if you want to go check those out with some imagery to go with some of the things we've talked about on here, I'll gladly put them on there. They'll be coming out over the next couple of days. So, and we'll be back here next Sunday with another episode. So, if you like what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button so you can know when these new episodes will come out. There'll still be some new stuff coming on this channel as well, specifically new trailer reactions. Hopefully we'll get some new trailer reactions coming up pretty soon. I know it's been kind of slow these last couple of weeks, but hopefully we'll be getting back on track here in the next couple of weeks or so. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is something that I'm really looking forward to doing, and hopefully this could be something that will become a regular thing on this channel. So, like I said, if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week for another episode. So, thank you for watching, and until then, we are out.